Hi everybody. In this video we're going to look at just using StatKey to do some of the stuff from section 2.5 and section 2.6. The two book sections are very similar, so I'm just going to combine the StatKey into one video. So I'm going to start with the homework problem just to show you what's going on. So the homework problem is right here. This is the type of thing you have to do on a test, but on an exam I don't want you using StatKey. We'd rather that you use the calculator. But this question is saying, find the appropriate scatter plot. So there's lots of ways to do it. You can match up the points, but notice that this is given in rows instead of columns. Let's go and just put this in StatKey. Let's have StatKey draw the graph, and then we'll just match it up drawing on the graph. On an exam, you're not going to have to match a graph to a data set, okay? I just want to introduce StatKey in a concrete way, and this is how you do it. So this is how you enter data in StatKey for sections 2.5 and 2.6. We're going to be doing two quantitative variables, so it's down here at the bottom. The order here does not match the way we learn it, right? This is from section 2.2 and 2.3. Right, this is 2.1, so it doesn't match. You got to just know the variables. So we're doing two quantitative variables. What you do is you edit the data, just click Edit Data, and then just clear this out. Now you can separate the values with a comma or with a tab. Doesn't make any difference. So just whatever's easiest to you. So here we have, now when we enter it on the calculator, we do it in columns. Here, let's do it in rows. Not rows the way they look. We're going to build new rows. So the first data point is 3, 1. Okay, because x is 3, y is 1. Then 5, 2. Again, you can use a tab in between these. I'm not labeling anything. If you want to label them x and y, you can. But by default, the first column is x. You don't have to label them x and y. You can if you want them. 7, 1.5, and 6, 2.5. And as before, when we did our other StatKey video, it says data has a header row. I did not name the columns. If you want to name them, you can. Just call them X and Y, and then you have to click has a header row. It's up to you. There's no right way to do that or anything. All right, so let's look at what we have here. So this is our scatter plot, and it's kind of hard to see sometimes, but it's got 5 data points, right? So here's our data set, and then all you want to do is just match it up. So this it starts off high, right? Then it jumps down and then jumps back up. So in the homework, just find the one that looks like that. Well, it's clearly this one, right? So you can put them next to each other, right? You can actually, put them right next to each other and really look at it, and you can see that they're definitely the same. Is that the only way to do the problem? Of course not, but it's just a good way to introduce StatKey, I think. So let's look at what else StatKey gives us when we do two quantitative variables. It gives you the mean of the x and y coordinates, standard deviation, sample size. There's your correlation, this is R. And then it gives you something called the slope and the intercept that we're going to see in the next section. So if you want to use StatKey for the homework, to compute a correlation or to make a scatter plot, this is how you do it. You can make scatter plots on your calculator. We already saw how to use the calculator to do a graph. I'm sorry, to do the correlation, but to do the graph, you want to use StatKey. You can do a graph on the calculator, but it's not real fun to do, so we don't really cover it in this class. If you want to make a graph, use StatKey. Now let's talk about, so that's how you do everything from section 2.5. Everything else you can do on the calculator. For section 2.6, everything is exactly the same as we just described. You type everything in the same way, you make a scatter plot the same way. What we're going to be seeing in section 2.6, or if you're watching this after you saw 2.6, then what you saw in 2.6, is there's something called a regression line that you just click it and it appears. So the regression line is a standalone thing from section 2.6. And the regression line looks like, the equation of a line, y equals mx plus b, except things are notated slightly differently. So we actually use, the slope is actually, has the letter b. So the slope of this line is negative 0.087. And the intercept, so the y-intercept, is 2.410. So if you track this line back to where the x-coordinate is 0, it'll intersect at 2.401. So we're about to see that in the next video. In fact, I imagine you're going to be watching this right before the 2.6 video. That's how you do it in StatKey. A couple other things just in general about StatKey. Some of the homework does use these pre-built-in data sets. Just remember, if the problem says use StatKey to do something, make sure you're checking whether the data set is already built in. Like here's our honeybee waggle dance data set, right? This is the one from the notes, right? The one from the video, from the first video. So make sure you're checking whether or not this data set is already included, because some of the data sets are quite big. You don't want to edit the data and type in. I've had students try to do it. I've had students not notice that these are here and spend 2 hours typing stuff in. I'm not exaggerating. Please don't do that. So there's a question about crickets chirping is one of your homework problems. Just make sure you look and see, is that data set included? If it says use StatKey, the data set will be in here. And then you can also use it to make scatter plots. You don't have to do these by hand. All right, well, that's basically it. The correlation is from section 2.5. This slope and intercept and regression are from section 2.6, but everything's in the same spot. You enter data the same way, and you read the results the same way. So that's it for this short video. Next up, for most of you, section 2.6, which will be these regression lines. All right, thanks a lot, and I'll see you next video. Bye-bye.